Yeah. Look out your window. Knicks fans is on your block. Y'all know the Knicks run the city. Pull them shades back. Look out your window. Look down there on the block. That's Knicks fans right there. It's about that time. It's about that time of the week where you get ready for your work week with the man that is so smooth. He does not require a chaser. Your main man, the real, still the real Anthony D. And your main man, Jersey's finest, the hood representative, Uncle Freezy. Yo, party people in the place to be. What's good? It's number one chief rocker in Knicks Universe. Your main man, Uncle Freezy. I'm joined by the man that is so smooth. He does not require a chaser, Anthony D. AD, what's good, bro?
I still don't require a chaser.
Still don't require.
I probably require some Motrin right about now. This Knicks celebration shit is getting unhealthy for a man that has had, what Tory B said last week, 50 laps around the sun. I've had a little more than 50 around the sun. Right. But salute to you. Good morning. You know, we out here feeling good again, celebrating, 2026 NBA champions now and forever. Right. You know, don't worry, fans. I told y'all I got something for y'all, and it's coming. It's on the way. It's on the way. It's on the way. But good, what's up, man? How's your weekend? What you been up to?
What was this weekend? Man, I ain't really did. Man, just chill out, man. Drove around the city listening to some R&B. Man,
I heard you and Tory B talking about my girl Adina Howard.
Howard.
I a freak until the dawn. Early like I was telling Freezy a few minutes ago. When I was in college, my first true love, she and Adina Howard were like spitting images. That movie Hitch with Will Smith, and in the beginning he's kind of how he gets to be the dating coach, the date doctor. He's tripping up all over that girl, right? That was me. That's why I love that movie so much. That was me. Wow. Outside of spilling mustard on my pants and farting in public next right. Yo, I was so much I was like, yo, I love you so much. I know you don't love me. You ain't gotta tell me. You ain't gotta tell me. No. When he does that scene, right? It's like, but him and her is like, he's like, I love you so much. I know you don't love me. You ain't gotta tell me. Freezy, I was so that much. I was out of it, yo.
Oh Lord, my God!
That woman could wave her finger, and I'm like, "Baby, you need something?"
Right.
Yeah, I run over there. You need something? Did your handkerchief fall?
Oh.
But that's what that Adina Howard. When I heard y'all talking, about Adina Howard. Oh my God, she's so fine. She's still fine.
Still to this day.
Still fine to this day. Just that, you know what I mean? And we talk a lot of music and stuff here on the channel and so forth. And, we always want to Delphonic stylistics. And, you're stuck in your 60s. But, I'm a 70s baby. So that whole, Adina Howard, SWV, Jesus Christ, I love them women. Oh my God. TLC, salute to the late great Left Eye Lopez, Escape, just that whole genre of female groups and female singers that was just laying it down in the 90s. Some of them one hit wonders until you get to the club.
Right.
And then you don't give a damn.
Right.
Not that she's not a one hit wonder, Monica. I'm out last night, Freezy, at the I didn't even know I still had the two-step like that. And all of a sudden I heard like this and like that and what? I forgot that Monica was ruling.
Right.
We forget because the tabloids now and the nonsense, how big Ray J's big sister was.
Yeah, another one.
Just so many dynamic female artists that, like I said, SWV, they have a place in my heart. The last time I mentioned them, you clipped me and threw it on the internet and shit went viral because I was losing my mind. I was losing my mind for some SWV, yo. Absolutely. Salute to the queens. So many of them and from that era and so forth. But
huge SWV fan.
Oh my God. I wanted to get tickets when they were in the area last year and I fumbled the whole situation. But they'll be back. Look at them again.
They'll be back.
Let's go. So what's going on, sir? Where we at?
You want to talk about Nelly and Westbrook a little bit? And
yes. He wasn't here a long time, Don Nelson, but he was in the game a long time. And I'm gonna start there a little bit. When we look at Don Nelson's career, a lot of times we forget that Don Nelson was a part of the Boston Celtics. He comes from a winning tradition. He might have been the equivalent to Phil Jackson for the Knicks, but that's what started, how you build an organization for winning, because he learned from Auerbach, idolized Auerbach. He's on the team with Russell, and he's coached by Russell in that Russell's last year as a player coach. If anyone, take a look at this Game 7 when the Lakers swear they're going to be coronated, right? Jesus, oh my God, the Big Dipper. Dipper steps out in Game 7 with an injury. Okay, they come all the way back. Don Nelson hits a shot. Hold on, Knicks fans. Hold on. He hits a shot, the same shot that Indiana hit against us last year in the Forum. He hit that same shot. Boom, all the way up and all the way down. The only thing is, it didn't send them to overtime like it did us. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, Knicks fans. I ain't mean to do that. I ain't mean that. But, I'm drawing a parallel here.
Right.
But Nelson, it's from that cloth he comes from. And then he has a long, crazy coaching career. We forget his coaching stint in Milwaukee.
Yep.
Don Nelson pretty much invents the point forward.
Yep. Paul Pressey. Yep.
Paul Pressey, Moncrief. He has a late Jack Sikma. Yeah. Terry Cummings in his prime. Marcus Johnson in his prime. They should have made it to a finals. Okay? But here's the problem. Boston, Philly, Detroit. They beat Boston one year. Don't get past Philly.
What was that? That was 82? Was that 82?
I think that's 82, right?
Okay.
Because Bird and them win it in 81? He beats Boston one year. They don't get by Philly.
Right.
Beat Philly, they don't get by Boston. You know, it was one of those things where they kind of exhaled. I don't want to say the players thought they were in the championship or whatever, but that fight to get to the next and then the next, they couldn't get over that hump. That Milwaukee team with Don Nelson in those years from 80 to 85.
Yep.
Okay? They're at the top of the Eastern Conference. They're as good as any team in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
But still, can't get it done. The thing that they used to say back then was he didn't have an in-prime big man. Like, he had Sigma, but Sigma was late. He has, what's my, oh God, I should know his name. He passed away. He still has the record for the biggest feat in NBA history, like a 22.
You talking about Bob Lanier?
Bob Lanier. They get Bob Lanier, but Bob Lanier, for fans, so don't, you know, here's a name that people don't even remember. Bob Lanier is one of the great centers this game has ever seen.
Yeah.
Okay. But when they get him, he's still battling with those injuries that he had in Detroit for all of those years and so forth. Mm-hmm. And again, he's going up against legendary front courts, he being Nelson and, you know, Milwaukee. Okay. Then when he gets to, by the time he gets to Golden State, he brings that same point forward-ish style to Golden State. Here comes Run TMC. They draft Chris Mullin. They draft what's my guy?
Mitch Richmond.
They draft Mitch Richmond. Okay. They then get Tim Hardaway a couple of years later. He signs or drafts Sharunas Marciulionis because here's another thing. Nelson and his son, Donnie Jr., they were on the cutting edge of scouting the European players long before anybody else. You might have drafted a Euro player, but it wasn't serious. You wasn't expected to bring him over. Hence why one of the greatest centers spent most of his career in the USSR. He builds this team of, for people who don't remember, Run TMC was uber exciting. They weren't winning.
Right.
Let's get that straight. But they were uber exciting. Right? With Mully from out of St. John's, Hardaway. As I see people coming in, salute chat. Y'all know what it is. You know, Hardaway, Richmond, who's one of the best shooting guards of his era.
Maybe ever, bro. Maybe ever.
Okay, that's a name that we really talk about in conversations when we talk, you know, greatest, you know, shooting guards. We always get stuck at three names. Mitch Richmond would give you buckets every night.
Every night, and you couldn't stop him.
Mitch Richmond was a physical too, so you were gonna feel him. Pause. It wasn't sweet. He's kind of like Joe Johnson, pre-Joe Johnson.
Or hey, everything. And think Anthony Edwards size. Like think of Anthony Edwards build, right? Except like Mitch Richmond is going to the hole, and you couldn't. Michael Irvin told the story about it. Michael Irvin said the first time he played against Mitch Richmond was playing center for his high school team. He said, Mitch Richmond was the center, because I'm talking about the high school era, right? These two dudes are in 11th grade, right? And he was like, "Yo, this dude was the center, right? That could handle and do everything, right?" But I digress. My bad, AD.
Mitch could. He really could. But think about the high school game for a very long time.
Right.
Especially if you was out in Midwest and whatever. Your starting center is like 6'4", 6'5". A lot of times, if you really into the high school game and when you see it, like, wow, you played center?
Right.
And now you playing point guard?
Right.
That's just what it was. The coach is there to get the best talent, not necessarily the best physical athlete.
Yeah.
But again, just to slide with Nelly, here's where it gets kind of confusing for me and Nelly. He has that team, Run TMC, and as exciting as they are, they're not beating anybody. Right? I can't remember. I think does Hardaway get hurt? I think Hardaway gets hurt, and they pull the trade for Richmond with is that Sacramento or Washington?
Sacramento.
Okay. Weber has an interesting clause in his rookie deal.
Wait a minute. You're talking about the Wizards.
Right. I'm talking about like where did they trade him to the Wizards or Sacramento traded Weber to the Wizards? I'm trying to remember how he gets to the
Chris Webber had an opt-out in his contract.
Right. I'm trying to remember how does he sign a unrestricted free agency to go to Washington?
He signed with the Bullets.
With Washington.
And then they trade him to Sacramento for Mitch Richmond.
Right. But before we go, we get there. He has this thing in his contract where he's able to be a free agent, or he's able to opt out after the first year of his deal. Okay. Chris Webber is the overall number 2 pick in the entire draft. Okay. He doesn't come out and disappoint. He's Fab 5 Chris. He comes out and has the beginnings of a great career or a very good career.
Right.
Somehow, some way, he doesn't get along with Nelly, or Nelly doesn't get along with him, and vice versa. And they gave him a contract where he's able to opt out. Back then, it's not like the rookie scale now, right? When you gave a rookie coming in, they were making more money than the established vets.
Yeah.
That's how the rookie scale came in the first place. So think about it. You spent all of this money, time, and interest in this one player who is a franchise player, Nelly. And somehow, somewhere, you and your people thought it best to give him a deal where he could be like,
Let me add something to that though. So what AD is was alluding to everybody is Golden State paid a lot for this spot, and then they lost Chris Webber for nothing. Because what happened is the Orlando Magic won the lottery 2 years back to back. So they won it, and the year they in '92, and they drafted Shaquille O'Neal, and then they won the lottery again the following year, and everybody thought that they were going to pair Chris Webber and Shaquille O'Neal together.
He thought that,
right. But Golden State wanted Chris Webber so bad that they offered. Remember that Golden State was picking third, right? Golden State offered Orlando 4 first-round picks to move up 2 spots in the draft, right? And so they pull off the trade. They give up 4 first-round picks to get Chris Webber, and they want Chris Webber so bad that they offer him an opt-out in his contract. Now, mind you, the Orlando Magic, who got 4 first-round picks out of the trade, used their Trump draft pick to draft a point guard out of Memphis named Penny Hardaway. Everybody. So not only did Orlando get a point guard for Shaq, they got all those extra first round picks from Golden State, which really hurt Golden State down the road to the point where they changed their uniforms. They had all kind of weird stuff going. It was weird. But I'm sorry.
No. Stay right there. It almost buried the franchise.
Buried the franchise.
Let's remember something. Okay? For all you Golden State fans out there with the pom-poms over the last 10, 15 years, you were in purgatory.
Yeah.
From Barry to Run TMC, we ain't heard a peep out of Golden State. From Rick Barry up to Run TMC.
Right.
A peep. And like I said before, Run TMC, they were exciting. They weren't good.
Yeah.
Okay? So now you've thrown your entire franchise future down the drain with this trade. When you allow him to be like, when you were a kid and you went to the ice cream store and you want to be like, I want to try that flavor, I want to try that flavor, I want to try that flavor, I want to try that flavor. You allow him this power over your franchise, which he wields. You see, he wielded that power. Then where were you as an organization, Golden State? Right. Searching for the next Chris Webber.
Right.
I don't even know when they fired him. Because he was there a minute. It was, you woke up one day and breaking news, Golden State had decided to part ways with Don Nelson.
Right. What year was it that D'Antoni took the Phoenix job? That's the year. Because they didn't know, like, does Don Nelson take the Phoenix job or the Dallas job? And I think Phoenix hired D'Antoni and he wound up going to Dallas.
No. Before he gets to Dallas, he makes a pit stop.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
Before he gets to Dallas, because remember, when the Knicks were searching for Riley's replacement, Grunfeld is still here. Right? Because remember, Riley wanted to be, after they lose against Indiana, Miami's ownership is starting to flirt with Riley.
Right.
Riley had already went to the organization. He wanted them to fire Grunfeld. He wanted it to be nobody between him and I guess Checkets, or be on the same level with Checkets. And he also wanted part ownership. This is according to Checkets. I've never heard Riley say this. So the fan in me is just going by. I remember the conversations that Checkets was giving after Riley had faxed in his resignation. Don Nelson has a prior relationship with Ernie Grunfeld. I think he coached him.
Right.
Nelson gets on the phone and calls Grunfeld immediately, and look at Nelson's his resume at the time. He's not a championship coach, but he's like Tibbs as far as stature.
Right.
Comes from a championship pedigree, Boston. We talked about that. Okay. He gets the job. 1, 2, 3. But Nelson has his own ideas, what he thinks the Knicks need coming off of finals, Eastern Conference, second round again against Indiana and blah, 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 blah. And it's kind of it's it's kind of poetic because this is Patrick Ewing's birthday month.
Right. Right.
Salute to Pat. Happy birthday, General. Nelson wants the ball out of Ewing's hand. He looks at dearly departed Anthony Mason as his new Paul Pressey, his new Mullen, so to speak, without a jump shot. And Anthony Mason eats it up.
Yeah.
Anthony Mason's like, who, me? You want to give me the ball? You want me to share in this Patrick Ewing, John Stark situation here? You want me to be the guy?
But AD, remember, hey, fill everybody in on the way Mason looked the year before that, though. Because it's not, he just didn't pick a random guy. Remember how great Anthony Mason looked. And what year is this? 97? This is 97, right?
It's 96.
96. Okay.
Right.
So it's like, it's not like Anthony Mason was just like a ham sandwich. It was like,
in comparison, and this is no disrespect to the God. In comparison to Patrick Ewing, he is a ham sandwich.
Hey man, he is. That's not the point that I'm saying.
Here's the thing though, Freezy, with this. Okay. Whatever they had behind the scenes, however Nelson comes in, the first player you have to talk to is Patrick Ewing. Okay. However he sells it to Ewing, Pat, you need some more offensive. That's why y'all didn't win it. You know, I don't want to remind you that John, right? But you needed more help. This guy, I've watched him. He has a handle, because that's one thing that Anthony Mason had. Anthony Mason is straight out of Queens, baby. We get the money. New York City, we got the handle. We may not have the shot all the time, but the handle from birth. Okay? So he has that. He's athletic. He doesn't have a real shot, but he also has that pass first mentality.
Right.
Well, it wasn't hard to sell him if I put you in the post and you're doubled, pass. Not that anybody's going to double you, Mason. You've only averaged, 10, 11 points so far in your career? We're kind of, I'm in a lack of way, I'm kind of doing what Brown does with Cat. I'm utilizing other things that he can do, which Mason could pass the ball. Okay? But he's passing the ball out of the post. Who lives in the post?
Pat.
How is that going to work? When they fire Nelson, which is on a Monday morning, the Sunday before, I can't remember who the Knicks were playing, but it was a Sunday afternoon game. And up until this point, you could take a look at Ewing's numbers, up until this. He's not happy, but the team is winning. Okay? Goes back to what I was talking about last week or the week before, as far as, him, having that wrench hole on the offense in a lot of ways. He gets on I can't remember if it was live or I think it was taped. Yeah, it was taped. And he says, I miss Pat Riley.
Yeah.
They fire Nelson Monday morning.
And everybody, listen, and this is the context of it, right? Pat Riley wasn't asking Pat Ewing to be a spot-up shooter. Don Nelson, I'm sorry. Don Nelson wasn't asking Pat Ewing to be a spot-up shooter. He was asking him to do what modern NBA centers now do. Hey, Pat, can you do a dribble handoff? Right? Like, can you run this split action? Like, can you pass from the top of the key? Right? If they leave you open, can you shoot it? Like Don Nelson was so far ahead of his time. Now, mind you, I'm not saying Don Nelson was right, because sometimes the right answer comes at the wrong time, if that makes sense, right? Because the thing is Don Nelson wanted the Knicks to be more athletic. At the same time, there were others on the roster that also wanted the Knicks to be more athletic and get out and run at the same time, as opposed to the point guard getting the ball on the inbounds, waiting for Pat to get down the court on the block. You know what I'm saying? You dribble it down, and then you post entry pass to Pat. Pat don't like it. You pass it back around. You get the pass back. You give it to Pat. He in a better spot this time. He like it. Nobody else touch it, and you only touch it when Pat Ewing's not on the floor. That was an excellent offense in an era where you had to feed your big man, right? That was an excellent, and Pat Ewing is an all-time great. But at the same time, if you know this offense presented you with a glass ceiling, AD, why couldn't you do both? Why couldn't you feed Pat and then also run the Don Nelson offense? The thing is with that is Don Nelson, I remember this to this day, Don Nelson was trying that. Like, nah, we'll feed you, big fella. But at times, we got to get others involved. Carmelo, we got to take the ball out of your hand and let others touch it. So you know what I'm saying? And Pat was absolutely like, nah, I don't want to do no dribble handoffs. I'm not a guard. It's a dribble handoff, Pat. It's a dribble handoff. He's like, I'm not a guard. I'm not happy with none of this. Remember, we were not just winning, AD. We were not just winning, but there were others on the team. Like the rising tide was raising other people's game at the same time. But all it takes is for Pat Ewing to say, I'm not happy with this shit, man. I'm not a guard. I don't want to do this.
Yeah, I want to do this shit. Fuck this shit.
Yeah, y'all out here.
But okay, to your point of nuance, right? Before they fire Nelson wants your hometown buddy. Nelson is behind the scenes trying to trade Pat. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm not making this up.
No,
Nelson talked about it.
These are facts.
Shaquille O'Neal said he thought he was going to New York.
Yeah.
Okay? Pat gets wind of this, and Pat is like, nah, fuck this shit. Who the fuck do you think you are? Yeah. You ain't no Knick. They didn't draft you. You haven't gone through 6 coaches. How the hell you know what we need? I've been here.
Right.
What we need to do is hire Jeff, get your ass up out of here, okay? If you think that I'm giving up my spot to Shaquille O'Neal.
Right.
Okay? He is having the 5 heartbeats moment. Okay? When Eddie Kane comes in and he missed the show and he sees Flash and he's like, you scum sucking, sug dwelling. You want my spot? You ain't go get it.
Yeah.
Right? That's the same thing. That's what Pat is saying. He ain't gonna get my spot. I don't care if he's 9 years younger than me. I don't care if he done dunked on me in my house. I don't care if he yelled in my face in his house. This is my house. I don't care if I'm never gonna sniff another starting NBA All-Star again. He ain't taking my spot.
What year was that Don Nelson took over? That was the 96-97 season or 97-98?
That's 96-97.
Okay. Hey, AD, I'm looking at stuff in context. The year before that, everybody, the 95-96 season, Pat Ewing shot 47% from the floor. Right? Pat Ewing took 19 shots a game. So Pat Ewing took for a big man. Pat Ewing took 19 shots a game and averaged 22 points a game. Those numbers are disastrously down, right? So clearly Pat was in decline, right? Pat was in decline. So then the Don Nelson year, Pat takes 17 shots a game, shoots 48-ish, 49 shots a game, and averages 22 points a game. So clearly Pat was in decline, right? I don't think Pat
Nelson had him taking less shots, getting the same results.
Right.
Averaging a higher field goal percentage per game.
And I think his assists were up. I think his assists were up with Don Nelson, is what I remember.
They were passing the ball more. Nelson plays a passing style. Whoever your center is going to get you 3 assists. It doesn't matter.
Right. And then they fired Don Nelson. I think, AD, what was their record? Their record was like, what, 38-14 or something?
They were like 10 games, 11 games over 500.
Okay.
Because Pat said, I miss Pat Riley. And that was it. So you bring in all of this. Nelly doesn't have a chance. He got big dreams.
Yeah.
He got big ideas.
Yeah,
and they started with moving Pat out the way.
The funny thing is Anthony Mason became an all-star. Like, as soon as Don Nelson unlocked him, he went on to become a multiple-time all-star, I think. Or he might have made the all-star team in Charlotte and in Miami.
I think he made it in Charlotte. I think he made Anthony Mason, and I don't want people to think that, because I called him a hand sandwich in comparison to Pat. Pat's one of the greatest top 75 players of all time.
Pat's the greatest center ever. Yeah.
Out of 5,000 players who've ever come in his uniform, you're not gonna. Anthony Mason is not in your. He's just not. We got to keep it a buck. But for the Knicks, he is, in the sense of, if this was a
holy crap.
What happened?
What? Yeah, no, this can't be real.
What'd you do? What the hell did you do?
Don Nelson was 34-25 as the Knicks head coach and got fired.
Okay, 9 games over. It's a lot. But as I was saying, Mason had, look at his story. Spain, Istanbul, China.
Yeah, he got cut by Portland 8 times.
He played in some leagues I've never heard of. At that time. At this time, I still don't know him. But he went to Springfield. Like I said, he's from Queens, and he just had that, I'm going to make it to the NBA. And as Riley in that first year, when they're filling out, obviously they're building the team around Ewing, of course, but they're filling out pieces like that fits what Pat kind of likes and his characteristics, which is aggression. Defense. Anthony Mason could rebound. Anthony Mason was uber aggressive. Anthony Mason looked like he was in the WWF. When you're talking about that Knicks front line, McDaniel, Mason, Ewing, Oakley, there's not an ounce of fat. These guys look like they are built out of the side of a mountain.
Right.
When you came into the lane, they had a no layup rule. That team, and I love that night, that first year Mason and Starks, that 92 team, because outside of the 94 team, in my belief, it was their best team in the 90s. Because those guys, they were still in a supportive role. John Starks was coming off the bench. Anthony Mason was coming off the bench. Xavier McDaniel, if you go back and look at his playoff run when they end Detroit, okay, in game 5, when they put Detroit out of their misery. Another one of the games, I don't want to get off track, another one of these games that people don't talk about, but Patrick Ewing's great games. We'll go back and take a look at his game 5 against Detroit. 32 points, I think 21 rebounds, 5 block shots. Right? But look at that Knicks team with Mason and Starks and them coming off the bench in a more of a supportive role. Okay? As they get better, don't get me wrong, Freezy, they earned their spots. John Starks earned the right to go 2 for 18. Okay? Because he was bagging groceries. But it's a situation where he got star heart. Anthony Mason had star heart. Okay? But not a star skill set. And for Ewing, he's looking at it like, this guy just got here. He just took a world tour. His passport is stamped the fuck out. How the hell you gonna turn it over to him? And those are the things that ushered Nelly out.
Right.
See what I'm saying? You know, it was, and all of these things happened in like 6 months.
Yeah.
You would think he was here a long stretch of time. He just wasn't.
It was a New York minute, bro. It was a New York minute, man.
Absolutely.
Sure.
But I also wanted to touch on, because I've beaten him up over the years, but he's Russell Westbrook, who recently retired, has to be a fan favorite just to watch, because every night he came out and he gave you an effort that a coach never has to worry about. You don't ever have to worry about Russell Westbrook being ready to play basketball.
Right.
You don't ever have to worry about Russell Westbrook being in shape to play basketball. Okay? I remember him at UCLA. And I wanted the Knicks to draft him so bad. The year we drafted Gallinari, which is 6. I think we drafted Gallinari at 6. And the talk at the time was he's going to fall in the draft because he didn't have a jump shot. His jump shot was totally broken. Didn't get much better in the NBA, but that's not the point of the story. It's one of those moments. It's the same thing with Curry, where the Knicks have the ammunition to possibly go up to get this point guard. The coach at the time is D'Antoni. D'Antoni, if he doesn't have the greatest, friendliest point guard system known to man, I don't know who. He done made millionaires. He made a millionaire out of, what's the point guard that we had?
Leandro Barbosa.
No. What's the one that we had that he benched Marbury for? I can't even remember these names anymore because I'm still in championship.
Chris Duhon.
Chris Duhon. He made a millionaire out of Chris Duhon. Multi-millionaire. So if you couldn't do that for Westbrook, how good is your system? If you didn't see that, organization sits there, wait for Gallinari, pre-camp, he's calling Gallinari the greatest shooter he's ever seen.
His brother, remember his brother? No, not Gallinari brother. I'm talking about D'Antoni's brother. D'Antoni's brother, who coached in Italy, was like, he's Larry Bird.
He's the greatest shooter I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Okay? What does Gallinari do? I think game 2, or it was a game 1, falls on his tailbone. And then begins the leaky oil Chevy that we had, that Knicks fans were crying about when we eventually traded him for Carmelo Anthony. I'm not going to go there today. But Russell Westbrook could have been that point guard in our system. Because when he gets to OKC, and I guess it's territory, organization, allow you to be the person that you can become and so forth. And it's much, as we know, it's much tougher to become anything here in New York. But if you can make it here, right? And he goes on to OKC. And still to this day, when I think about that team, that young OKC team, draft pick after draft pick after draft, they're hitting on, they rolling sevens. Freezing. If you was in a dice game with them, somebody getting shot.
Bro.
Because them dice is funny.
Yeah.
KD, Westbrook, Harden, Serge, everything. If you would have asked me 10, 12, 13 years ago that this team wouldn't have won at least 2, like, you crazy. There was no Clippers on the rise.
No.
Right? They were, they're the Clippers. There was no Golden State.
Right.
It's OKC. They have everything.
AD, let me do the super chats real quick before So Jay Boogie, thank you for the generous contribution. Jay Boogie says, shout out to the chat. Just know that this old school network will be defending the championship every Sunday. Salute, 3 capital S's. Absolutely for sure. We slapping the floor playing defense. You know what I'm saying? We defending the championship. And then David Smith, thank you for the contribution, David Smith. David Smith says, rumor has it Knicks want Cat to take a 35% discount on his $272 million max and take 33% less field goals than the typical in his career and sacrifice all NBA's and Hall of Fame statistics. Why should he? I don't know. I think all of that is a stretch. I don't think the Knicks I hadn't personally heard or seen any of that. And plus two, David Smith, remember, just because the Knicks won a championship doesn't mean that they're not still buttoned up, right? The Knicks don't talk to people. So if you heard that somewhere, just take that as secondhand fan talk, right? Like, we don't know for sure what it is that they want Cat to do. And we don't know Cat's stance on it either. The Knicks are buttoned up. They've always been buttoned up since Leon Rose has been here. And I expect them to be expected to be the same. So if you hearing stuff like on social media, I would say it's rumors.
Rumors them spreading. But you know what? I ain't gonna disagree with David. Last night, Freezy, I had on my Cat jersey. All the fuck I needed was with the trophy behind me, killer. I'm
Right.
telling you.
Right.
That's all I needed, baby. You hear me? Welcome up. Knicks in 5. Yeah.
Knicks in 5, bro.
Knicks in 5. Yeah. Knicks in 5. My boy is like, yo, you know you only get that love because you went. I said, here's the problem. You didn't get the memo. You're out of uniform.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
This is a Knicks summer.
A Knicks summer, bro.
Okay? You're out of uniform, buddy. Okay? So I'm riding with David. But seriously though.
Yeah, I'm yeah. In terms in terms of what it is, bro, I'm like, what? I don't give a shit. I could as long as the Knicks win the championship, bro. I don't care.
I don't care either. Y'all know how I feel. It's cemented. But here's the thing with the overall NBA and this thing with the big guys, taking less and so forth. It's not a good thing. It's really not. But the players signed on to this. You understand? Read your contract.
Right.
Read when the union is having these meetings, okay? And your union head is trying to get y'all to have a conversation. And they're having these conversations in the strip club and they're making it rain. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to pay attention. Because big bank takes little bank all the time.
All the time.
You go into this knowing that you're little bank.
Right.
You have to protect what you have for the next generation. It just can't be, I'm gonna sign my $350 million and fuck the rest of y'all.
Right.
And here's the thing: they're now coming. They don't even want to give you the whole pie. They're telling you, millionaire, us billionaire, don't want to go in the apron at all.
Right.
Not a month, not a 2 months, not a 3 months, at all.
Why would you go in the second apron to help New Orleans make money? New Orleans can't make money on their own, and they shouldn't be in the league. Sorry.
Every 5 years, they make it more and more difficult for themselves because they're delusion with the pie. 5 years ago, I think it was ABC came in and gave them $24 billion. $24 billion would drive anybody mad. Right. Now with all of the new money and the new different places to watch the game, the pie done went. It's not even a pie anymore. It's exploded the oven.
Right.
Okay, you got cherry matters all over inside of your oven.
Right.
And what the owners is telling you now, we want to keep this. This is y'all share. Figure it out. And the players sign that deal to where I almost look at Jalen Brunson as something to his own. Jalen Brunson, I don't want to talk for him, but what he's shown is that he dreamt of this moment. He wanted to be here. Okay? When presented to him, this is the way we can get it done or get closest to it. And you're telling us, you're vouching for your boy, and we're telling you, OG, your boy, and Cat, yeah. But the only way we're going to be able to get it done is you're going to have to take some,
a shave a little bit. Like.
And now it's going around the league. Wemby takes a shave. These are your these are the top of the food chain. This can't be it. Going into their next deal, whoever the hell the head of the Players Association is, this can't be it. This can't be life.
Hey, I'm gonna just say something, y'all. Joel Embiid didn't take one penny short. Jason Tatum didn't take one penny short.
OG Anunoby?
Hey, the bag.
And you see why he takes the bag, right?
Right.
You have your family to protect. Here's a young man about to, embark on something bigger than a championship.
Right.
You know, tell him to take less. I've got this ring. I know what it means to you. I know what it means to me. But guess what? These M's, when you see players that go broke afterwards in a short span of time,
Right.
we forget that. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not saying this will happen to JB, but who's to say 5 years after he retires, the wife decides that I'm not in love anymore.
Right.
Your shit happens all the time.
All the time.
Ain't nobody walking away. Ain't nobody walk. How much money did you make since we've been together since high school? Huh? You made what? A billy? Close to it? I'm gonna need some of that.
I'm gonna need like Michael Jordan's first wife said, I need 55% of that.
That's how this works.
And everybody was like, this bitch ain't take one jump shot. Like,
you wasn't with me when I was shooting in the gym.
Right. Like,
but this is how this works.
Right.
You're a marital asset.
And no disrespect to the ladies. Ladies, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not trying to insinuate that ladies don't have a role, right? And ladies don't do things that are important either. That's not what I'm saying. But what I would say is this: what if the shoe was on the other foot? What if you're Rihanna, right? And I'm ASAP Rocky, and we get divorced, and y'all hear me saying as ASAP Rocky saying that I need 60% of all of Rihanna's wealth that she built since she came from the Bahamas, right? It sounds ridiculous, it sounds ridiculous when the shoe was on the other foot. All I'm saying is it's just a perspective. Like Rihanna came from the island with nothing, right? Like I have family members, like ancestry. They came from the island with nothing, right? And then they built something. And then now, you know what I'm saying, to tell somebody, and I don't know if everybody have the same history, right? So I have Haitian and Nigerian background. I don't know if everybody have the same.
Sac passe.
Is it sac passe? Hey, and my wife is from the Bahamas. Her family's from the Bahamas. So we share like a story, like, you know, your people come from a certain place, they build a business from the ground up and whatever. And now the generations behind them don't even recognize their lineage, and they don't know the struggle of the people that came from the island. Like my kids don't even talk about Haitian and Haiti and the Bahamas because they lived a charmed life. Let me just put it that way. Right? They thing was different. Right? So they don't know Haiti, they don't know the Bahamas, they don't know Nigeria, they don't know none of that stuff. Right? But with all that said, I guess what I'm saying is like when you take a kid like Michael Jordan, get cut from his team, he do this, build all this stuff, build a brand and all this stuff, and then next thing you know, like the wife is like, yeah, I'm still getting half of that. And you're like, what the
But it's reality, Freezy. See what I'm saying? So while you're in your peak earning, you have to protect that.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? And Fans could look at you and be like, "Oh, but you got all the money in the world," and da 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 and da 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 da. As an NBA player, you pay a tax every city you play.
Every city you play in.
Okay, the government gets his up off top. Agent fees.
Yeah.
This one, that one, family members you haven't seen in God knows when.
Right.
Business dealings that the floaty that can be in the moon for the next 50 years. Invest $2.5 million in the floaty.
Mm.
See what I'm saying? It's just to ask a player to forego that consistently. If I'm Cat, I'm driving a hard bargain. I may give you a slight shave, but it's a very, very slight shave. Right.
Hey, so let me I'm going to do the Amari thing right quick. Amari Stoudemire, once a Knick, always a Knick. Power forward, war number one. Amari was here from 2010 to 2015. He was known for embracing the challenge of coming to New York when most superstars turned and went the other way. He was an emotional leader that played on a high level. And what Amari was mostly known for was when his emotions was high, like when you got him fired up and going, he could be a top 5 player in the NBA. Right? Like when you got Amari involved in the offense, like maybe as the number one, Amari could rip off 30-point games for a whole week stretch. And we know this because we saw him do it. Right. Now, the flip side of that, which was the part of that kind of drove Knicks fans crazy, is Amari couldn't operate as a number 2. Right. He couldn't operate in his mind. He couldn't operate as the second fiddle to anybody. Right. And the Knicks brought in a guy that made Amari a number 2. And so there was a little struggle bus episode about Amari not getting as many touches as he deserved, especially when before Carmelo got here, Amari was taking a bunch of dudes you never heard of in your life, and we were knocking off teams, and they knew they were going to get knocked off. But you can't pass up the opportunity to get a Carmelo Anthony, and that stretch where Amari was thriving. All the rumors all over the NBA was how would Amari and Carmelo play together, because they knew Carmelo was coming. It was just a matter of when. Shout out to my main man, Amari Stoudemire. We call him Stat. Was a great NBA player, and once a Knick, always a Knick.
Woo! That was a nice soliloquy.
Yeah, man.
First of all, let me say, standing tall and talented, Stat. Salute to you, because I saw that you recently made the NBA Hall of Fame. So I want to say congratulations, for making that, because you were one of, in your generation, in any generation, especially early, his words can't explain your dominance from the 4 and 5 positions. Okay? I'm going to go back a little bit before he gets to the Knicks. The Knicks could have drafted Amari Stoudemire. Literally outright. Yeah, I like doing that to you.
Oh my God.
I like for you to thinking that the food is about to be served, and you were like, no, you gotta wait another 20 minutes. Right. The Knicks could have drafted Amari. The truth of the matter is, when Amari's coming out, and this is like, again, he's the second wave of the high school phenomenon because he's after 5 or 6 years after Kobe, after KG, after Jermaine O'Neal. So it's not like the intel or the scouting shouldn't have been there on him. Okay? Plain as day. The moment that young man stepped on an NBA court, notice was served. I'm not talking about, 5, 6, 10, 15 games in by the All-Star break, the rookie start. Day one. While the Knicks, who you asked, they drafted, instead of drafting Amari Stoudemire, what was the situation you're thinking that happened? What was the gentleman's name that we had for a quick minute that came from the general manager that was, his name is skipping me.
It wasn't a bad draft pick, man. We drafted the kid.
Hit it. Up. We drafted Michael Slowfoot Sweetney.
No, we didn't. Not that one.
Go back and take a look at that draft.
I promise you, I'm looking at it right now.
Go back and take a look at that.
At number 7. Okay, so here are the picks. This is everybody. The draft is 2002. So we're just gonna paint a picture, everybody. So y'all already know this, but we're just gonna paint the picture, right? So in the 2002 NBA draft, the number 1 pick overall is the China big man Yao Ming, right? And then the number 2 pick to the Chicago Bulls is the NCAA Player of the Year from Duke University, Jay Williams, right? You know Jay Williams' story, right? Mike Dunleavy is 3rd. Drew Gooden is 4th. Now, where things get weird is the Denver Nuggets at 5 draft Nikola Skidisvili, the biggest bust ever, right? Cleveland drafts DeJuan Wagner. He's a bust for a different reason, not talent and not knucklehead. His was medical. At 7, your New York Knicks are on the clock, and they draft the Brazilian big man
Nene.
Hilarious.
Right. Then they trade. Okay, go ahead.
Right. But they traded they did the trade where they moved Marcus Camby and Mark Jackson and that to get to that spot right there at 7. We get Nene Hilario, but there's another trade scenario that we talk about all the time with Antonio McDyess, and we can talk about all of that, whatever. But at 8, the Clippers draft Chris Wilcox, and at 9, Phoenix drafts Amari Stoudemire out of high school.
So it's the following year we draft Sweetney?
I think it's the following year. I think it's like the following year. We go on a run, and it looks
right.
It's like a weird run of draft picks. Every time we just said somebody's name, everybody laughed. It was like a 6-year stretch of every time we drafted.
Why do you use the word weird? Bad.
Well, the bad is better.
Pathetic.
Yeah, pathetic may be better. Pathetic may be better. But
the point of this,
we get to your guy, until we get to the guy you just mentioned, Gallinari.
But the point of it is they had a chance to draft him. Now I get it. At that time, and I'm not, because I kind of like the move. Not even kind of like the move. I did like the move because Antonio McDyess was a problem.
But AD, hold, let me just say this real quick. So the way that it happened is the best case scenario, because if we would have drafted Amari Stoudemire at 7 and traded him for McDyess, I wouldn't even be here, bro. That would have been the last straw, bro. Like if we had drafted Amari Stoudemire out of high school and then traded him to Denver for Antonio McDyess and then watch Amari do that in Denver and watch McDyess do this in New York. God got me, bro. Because if it happened another way, bro, if it happened that way, bro, nah, I promise I wouldn't even be watching basketball right now, bro.
But in essence, it did happen.
Right.
Because McDyess, they gave him number 34. I don't remember him playing in. Did he play in 10 games? But in any event,
right.
let me not stray too far from Amari.
Right.
When Amari gets here, okay, he gets here on a bad wheel. He gets here on a knee or knees that the Phoenix medical staff had rebuilt him.
Yeah.
When he becomes a free agent, and yes, he could say that he always wanted his own team or whatever. I don't know what you call Phoenix. If Phoenix wasn't your own team, okay, because there was no other front court player that was nowhere near you. There was no other go-to guy but you.
Right.
Right. But in any event, he has eyes on the apple. The Knicks, I don't even think the Knicks even looked at his medical. They didn't give a damn. Phoenix is like, look, we offering you 2-3 years, maybe. Amari's like, I wasn't thinking about coming back anyway. Because he already knew he had New York in the pocket.
Right.
I will always be grateful to him for that. Okay? Because he came here at a time when the organization was in flux. They were salivating over LeBron. That didn't happen. As it never happened. It never will happen. Okay? But he chose to come here at a time where there was really nothing.
And NBA and players were colluding to build super teams. This is the thing I'm saying. Everybody was like, yo, build a super team. Nah, man, we'll get it. This is off the Olympic. Remember the 08 Olympics where all those guys got together in a room? Like it's your Wade, Melo, LeBron, Bosh, Kobe, all these guys is like in a room. And they like, hey, man, instead of us letting the front office do it, we can do it ourselves.
Yeah, because remember, before Amari gets here, he was supposed to go to Cleveland the year before.
Yeah.
Remember at the All-Star game, him and LeBron they were interviewing together and
that was Cleveland mistake. Cleveland mistake was they didn't trade for him. Remember, they were supposed to trade for him and didn't.
They were supposed to give up Hickson.
Right, and they kept Hickson and they traded for Anton Jameson.
Right. Which in no world, Amari, Anton Jameson. Amari, Anton Jameson. I'll take Anton Jameson. No disrespect. Anton Jameson was a hell of a basketball player.
He was a fantastic scorer.
Not Amari Stoudemire. Not that Amari Stoudemire.
He was the epitome of a tweener. He had power forward size and small forward skills, but he wasn't a physical power forward in the league. He was the epitome.
And he was a worse defender than Amari.
He was a worse defender. He didn't care about team, but he sure could score that ball. If y'all remember the Washington Wizards with him and Gilbert Arenas and Caron Butler.
Yeah, absolutely. But Amari, and I want to touch on just his development a little bit. Because when Amari gets here, he doesn't have nothing that looks like a jump shot. It is pure. Give it to him somewhere near the box and watch him go. That man gave Tim Duncan nightmares.
Nightmares, bro.
That man gave Kevin Garnett nightmares.
Right.
Because before him in the West, you didn't have a guy like that at that time. He's more athletic than Rasheed Wallace.
Yeah.
He's more athletic than Dirk. He's more athletic than KG. He's more athletic. Dear God, he's more athletic than Swole Miles Swift.
Yeah.
Okay? He's more athletic than a whole heap of these power forwards. But what he then begins to do as the knee and stuff is given, I don't know who put it in his head, all of a sudden, his face-up game is crazy.
Crispy from above the free throw line, like in that free throw line.
Dear Lord.
And and teams had to respect it because
you had to respect it.
He was too fast and too strong to get by you. You couldn't.
And he would go over top of you.
Right.
Here's one that no one remembers in a Knicks uniform. Okay? In Miami, LeBron on the baseline. Douglas hits, I think it's Douglas or Ray, hits him with the pass on the left side. LeBron goes to block. And all you see is standing tall and talented with that right hand. But when he gets to New York, and I could really see him day to day. Remember the league, he had a move on the pinch post where he would drop the ball, kind of like swinging it like this. And the defender automatically push his arms or push a hand through, not touching him. Right. And then he created the rip through. Foul.
Yeah.
Foul. The league had to go back and look at it. They had to outlaw the rip through foul because he had perfected it. The night they played the Clippers in LA, Blake Griffin's rookie season. Great game. Go back and take a look at the highlights. When I tell you Amari put that man on like 4 posters. Right. I mean, don't get me wrong. He put Amari on like 2.
Right.
But Amari put him on like 4.
Right.
The spin, the twirl. He just had, it's a shame. And I'm going to touch back a little bit on, you said the super teams. Because remember this. He is on board. Here's where I get disgusted with Amari. Okay? He is on board with getting Carmelo Anthony. He's so much on board. I remember a story where he was on the flight with Carmelo coming back to the Garden, to New York.
Yeah.
Okay? For all his brilliance that we remember him for in New York, and for the I've heard you say some things about Bernard King and he only played 205 games and da. You go back and take a look at Amari Stoudemire and how many good games did he play in this Knicks uniform. He played great in 3/4 of one season. His first season. After they make the trade and bring Carmelo over, I'm not going to get back into that. I'm not going to start nothing out here on this Sunday. Okay? Amari gets hurt as expected. Maybe not by us, but the laws of physics says he was going to get hurt at some point. Carmelo Anthony has to then drag the team to the playoffs. Here's where now I fall back in love with Amari Stoudemire. That first, when he comes back, and they have a showdown against Miami that Easter Sunday. Chauncey's leading. Chauncey's the point. Melo's Melo. To save the game, Amari has a block reminiscent of a Porty in the finals. Comes out of nowhere and blocks LeBron.
Right.
And that kind of, at that moment, I was like, whoa, we may have something here.
Right.
I'm not saying we can win it all, right? But that Easter Sunday, that Monday, I was like, yo, we have something here.
We have something.
And the team, you remember with Toriop, and they're playing well. They get to the first round. They're playing Boston in Boston. Amari's feeling good. And if you remember that game one, oh, dear Lord.
Right.
When Amari goes left, goes under the rim, does a 360. This is a 6'10" man. Goes under the rim, does a 360, comes back on the other side and scores, and then comes back like a couple of plays later, and KG is down in his, you know KG, down in his stance, and Amari drives left again. Amari is a right-handed player. Amari drives left, gets past KG, and there is our friend Jermaine O'Neal waiting to get in this picture, baby. Okay? Amari gives it to KG and O'Neal. It's so beautiful, right? When you hear the broadcasters talking about it. And I think it's Green. Green goes, did he make that? Did he get that in? Back to the highlights, you see Amari ever so smoothly putting it down. Here's where I fall out of love with Amari again. We lose game one. Going into game two. I don't know if he was feeling good or they're playing around or whatever the hell they're doing. But Amari decides to do a trick dunk in pregame, and that's the beginning of him hurting the back. So not only are we working on him and his knee, but we're working on him, the knee, and now the back. And again, look at that game two performance by Melo. Okay? That team should have beaten that Boston Celtics team. We didn't because we weren't healthy enough. And we weren't healthy because, besides Chauncey going down, the main dude or the other half was not there. You see what I'm saying? And that is now the ending of his legacy now with the Knicks. It's what if moments. Then they played Miami the following year. Up and down with him and the hurting and the back and the this and the that and the strike and the this and that. And finally get him on the court and so forth. And he decides to punch a fucking fire extinguisher. That's just the truth. But when we, again, you can't forget that he gave it his all when he got here. Okay? And I don't want to be, Jesus, but when you talk about a man's legacy, you got to be fair. You got to touch on it all. He was a part of the near mutiny when Jeremy Lin was here with Melo. He was a part of that. He just was. He felt like him and some others, they felt like the team was playing better when Melo was hurt and blah, blah, blah. But you've been hurt. You've hardly been here.
This is a very polarizing topic. Because when you phrase it like that, it's like when you phrase it like that, it sounds 100% correct on both sides. And I think it is 100% correct on both sides because it's about perspective and the person that's impacting and was impacted, right? When Melo was hurt, the team was playing better basketball. They were passing the ball around. You were getting contributions from others. The morale was higher. Like, it wasn't like these things didn't occur. It's not like people were lying. It was obvious. Like, if Amari said it, it wasn't like Amari just made this stuff up out of the blue. It was apparent, right? But I'm gonna read the super chat real quick and I'll finish this point. David Smith, thank you for the generous contribution. David Smith says, as great as Brunson and OG were without Cat's defense against Wemby and his presence on the floor, Knicks don't win the NBA Finals versus the Spurs. Agreed. Everybody contributed for sure. Everybody contributed. But to AD's point though, if you are, and I'm not just blowing away David Smith's point because it was a great point, right? But to AD's point, how can Amari point out that the team is better while you were out due to injury when Melo had great performances when Amari was out due to injury, right? But the thing is everything can't be like, you can't look at every point in a vacuum to say every point is correct. I think you have to ask the appropriate question to get the appropriate answer. Like, because what AD said is absolutely 100%. I think it's like one of the most brilliant things we've probably ever said on the show is that Amari saying this is true, but just because things are true don't always mean you have to put them out front, basically. And I'm not saying hide the truth. Basically, what I'm saying is you don't have to rub it in somebody's face, basically. Because when Amari was out, Carmelo didn't rub it in Amari's face, basically, if that makes sense. So he's I think my guy is AD. I think you're right on all fronts, on all four fronts of this. I think you're absolutely right. Which makes the Amari years so polarizing, bro.
Shit, let's get a fifth front. Okay? His tenure here should have not even been that long.
That's the other part.
If you remember, and I don't know why the league just doesn't use this more every 5 years, they had an amnesty clause. Remember that? Remember the amnesty clause.
Right.
At that moment in time, Melo's about to marry the beautiful Lala.
Yeah.
They get married. The Knicks are flirting with Chris Paul,
who's a free agent.
Who's going to be a free agent. Chris Paul stands up in Carmelo Anthony's wedding, toasts them, and proclaims they're going to get their own big three in.
Right.
Okay? Even when it doesn't happen, even when they're fumbling it. Because remember, a lot of people may not know this. The Knicks had a direct link to him because Pearl and his father grew up together. So they had a direct contact with the family, whether they admit this or not.
Right.
Okay? Black Jesus. Okay? When it doesn't work out, the Knicks have the option of amnestying a Chauncey Billups contract which was about to expire, okay, or amnestying a man that this had not worked out.
And it's like, and the workout part is sad because I think it did work out. It just didn't work out in the banners. Like, they didn't get to the place that they wanted to get to. Because if you tell me, AD, that the Knicks signing Amari Stoudemire was a mistake, I think you're wrong.
No. It wasn't a mistake,
No,
Freezy.
let me finish.
It wasn't a mistake. I'm
Let
sorry.
me finish. Let me finish. Right, because there's a point to it. It's like it's nuanced. Basically, is what I'm getting at. So if you tell me, and remember, I'm not saying this to you. I'm saying this out loud in general, everybody. So if you tell me that signing Amari was a mistake, I think you're wrong. Right now, if you also tell me that they didn't bring in the requisite help for Amari, I think you're right. At the same time, this is an era where no one wanted to play in New York. Remember, there was a stretch from about 2003 to 2011 that nobody wanted to be here. Nobody. There was a stretch where we legit were the ugly duckling, basically. Like, people clowned us for years. That stretch of years, we were like in a dark place. Now, if you also tell me, hey, Amari was here for too long, I would also say that you're absolutely right. But here's the thing, here's the caveat to that. Right? Here's the caveat to that. You're not getting Amari on a 2-year deal. Right? You have to give Amari all 5 years, or he's not coming. Remember, Amari was coming, was in New York City, and he didn't sign until he got the last year, the 5th year. I think it was the 5th year. I think he signed for 4 years, 25 a year, or 5 years, 20 a year, something like that. But whatever the sticking point, he held his ground for that extra year. Right? And so we weren't going to get him if he didn't get that extra year. So was he here for too long? Yes. If we didn't offer him that, we would not have had Amari Stoudemire here. That's just what it is. Because he could have took the 2 years that Phoenix offered and played that out. Right? That was already on the table. Right? Other teams was like 2 years, 3 years. I think Golden State was interested in like 3 years, 4 years. The Knicks was the only team that was looking at a long-term deal, fully guaranteed. And Amari was like, listen, I want to be he was telling everybody, he was telling Phoenix, I want to be in New York, right? But I want to be in New York for this long-term deal so I'll have enough time to turn this thing around and build it. So it's like when we talk about it, we like, AD, I don't know. I don't know. I'm happy and heartbroken at the same time, bro. I don't know. This was a good once a Knick, always a Knick thing that you think, bro. Because I'm happy about it, but I'm also heartbroken about it. You feel me?
Well, absolutely, and it's hard, but we had to talk about him because we're celebrating the champion, because he's a champion in life and he made the Hall of Fame. But
right,
we, I don't take pride, Freezy. But as you said the other day, we old school Knicks, so we gotta talk old school, and we got to sit out on the porch and get mint julep and
play checkers and drink Manischewitz,
shuffleboard.
Yeah.
Fuck what AD was looking at last night, because when I tell you there were some things. But anyway, Amari, it don't do me good, Freezy, to remember when we needed him and he's bathing in wine.
Yeah.
That's a part of the story.
That's a part of the story. That's a part of the rehab too, by the way, everybody. Remember, that was a part of a rehab thing. He had.
So what was he doing? Bathing and drinking at the same time?
I hope not. I hope not.
Let me try and bathe in some Ray and nephew right now. You have to get EMS out me out this MF right now in 3 minutes.
Right,
okay?
Right. But he was out, and he was like, "Hey, Knicks fans, I'm doing everything I possibly can to get back, even trying like organic stuff." And they got he tried bathing in red wine to see if something, because he was like, "Yeah, man, I'm trying everything. I want to get back and I want to play." Right. I'm not. He was the main dude. He was the advocate of the thing. Like, I'm not here just cashing checks. I'm out here in the streets. If y'all remember Amari Stoudemire, he was out in the streets. He was a man of the people.
Absolutely. Freezy, I'm giving him all of that, Freezy. But it's one thing, fast forward, to manage a Mitch who's a role player. And it's one thing to manage the star player, Freezy.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And like I said, Freezy, we don't talk about this enough. Maybe that was the first time we've ever talked about this in these times that we've been. I don't know how many shows have we done. The amnesty clause was right there. You understand me? We didn't draft him. We grateful. We would have still been grateful, but the goal wasn't or isn't and never was in my mind to have a feel-good story. It can't. This is what was wrong with us, Freezy. All we had was to talk about on the porch with the mint julep and shit was Larry Johnson's 4-point play.
Right.
Allen Houston's putback.
Right.
And it stops. We mentally put it in a place where it stops that year. We don't even remember who the fuck won the championship. For us, it just stopped.
It just stopped.
Bam.
Right. Right.
You understand? So it doesn't do me any good to be like, well, to gloss over what really happened and what could have happened. Chris Paul at that time was a top 3, top 4 player
in the league. Not point guard, not just point the player. Chris Paul was a top 5 player in the league.
Period.
Right? Period.
So for you not to have designs to be like, okay, we're giving up Amari and whatever, but this is gonna fit better with Melo anyway.
Right. And to the point, everybody, amnesty does not mean Amari Stoudemire was not going to get paid. Amnesty means the money, his contract won't count against the salary cap. He was going to still get the contract money. He was still going to get paid by the Knicks. It just wouldn't count against the cap. And that would have been the spot for you to bring in Chris Paul instead of Tyson Chandler.
All you had was to do was to sit there with it. Keep Chauncey on the books. Hold on to him another year. It made no sense to amnesty a contract that was about to come off the Bucks.
Right. And the feedback from around the NBA, as soon as it happened, we were the laughing stock of the league. As soon as it happened. And like, yo, you erasing something that's already erased?
Because I may not like the D'Antoni system, but again, like I said earlier, what's the hub for his system? He's made millionaires out of point guards. When you did that and you got rid of Chauncey, right? You no longer have a point guard. You have Tony Douglas, not a point guard.
And what's the other one? Tony Douglas and what's the other guy?
You got Tony Douglas. You got a Wash
Bibby. Langston Galloway.
You got a Wash Bibby. No, Langston Galloway isn't there yet. You got a Wash
Bibby. Next year. Yeah, you're right.
You got a Wash Bibby. You got a Wash B Diddy that you about to trade for. You had a bunch of older point guards. You see what I'm saying? All because of the short-sightedness. This is not. It's not, yo. I remember watching this movie. It's an old football movie, right? The name is gonna come to me real quick, right? But at some point, they're mimicking. North Dallas 40.
North Dallas for Burt Reynolds,
right? No, this is not Burt Reynolds. This is this is Nick Nolte and.
Nick Nolte and Sonny from
right.
The Godfather.
right?
Yeah.
And at some point,
What
because
you know about The Godfather, bro? You ever
what
seen
you shit.
The
But at some point in the movie, because it's like one of the first real movies that's giving you like a behind the scenes of the football locker room at some point.
Right.
And they're introducing, taking, back then speed and painkillers and whatever. And the Nick Nolte character, he's
And
having a
Greenies.
conversation and greenies and all of that. And the Nick Nolte character, they were emulating the Dallas team. Because remember they had like the Tom Lange character, but at some point they're having a conversation, like the lineman, one of the linemen is having a conversation with the ownership, and he's like, "Yo, every time I say it's a business, you say it's a game, and every time you say it's a game, I say it's a business." You understand? This is business,
Right.
and the people who pay your paycheck, that's how they think of it.
Right.
No matter how many Jerry Jones there is and letting Michael Irving and them do all kind of wild shit or whatever, that's at the minuscule.
Right.
And you're only allowing them to do those things because they're at the top of their game.
Right.
See what I'm saying? So there's no, I loved Amari. Like I said, I've loved and hated his existence when he was here. A great player, deserving of the Hall of Fame, but he shouldn't have been here as long.
Do you consider retiring his number?
All right, I'm done. I don't have any.
No. Listen to me. I'm not saying do you retire his number. I'm asking you, do you consider retiring his number? Like if somebody was to bring that up in conversation, do you even engage in a conversation, or do you like, this is ridiculous?
This is utterly ridiculous.
Okay. All right. Because I'm on the other side of that slightly. Like I'm there where you are, right? But I am open to, because I think getting your jersey retired should not be on accomplishments alone. I think it should be on impact. Like, what impact did you as a player have on the organization while you were there?
His impact is not bigger than Jeremy Lin's. So are we retiring Jeremy Lin? So are we retiring Jeremy Lin's jersey?
No, hell no.
Okay.
No.
His impact is not bigger than Mark Jackson's. Are we retiring Mark Jackson's jersey?
Mark Jackson ain't a Knick.
Okay. If Mark Jackson ain't a Knick, Amari Stoudemire is not a Knick.
Oh, okay.
Okay. If Mark Jackson isn't a Knick, Amari Stoudemire is not a Knick. Okay. These feel good moments. It's only worth but so much. Yes, he came here. Yes, he took on the challenge. I salute him for that. But that's it. He had one good 3/4 of one season.
Okay. Now listen, I agree. I agree with all that. I think you're 100% correct, except for this one part. The part that to me is undervalued is, if he doesn't show up here, think about the time from 2023 to 2011 when Carmelo gets here. Right. Think about all that dead space. And I'm not saying that those players weren't valuable players, like David Lee and Zach Randolph, Jamal Crawford, Wilson Chandler, Gallinari, all those guys. I'm not saying that those guys weren't valuable, right? What I'm saying is, upon Amari's arrival, there was a rekindling of the Knicks spirit. Like, we legit felt important and special that Amari was here. Right now, did he deliver on everything that was promised? No. Because the first time they got here, it was like, Amari, why'd you choose New York? Hey, man, I came to bring championships. As soon as he said that, that automatically just like, if you didn't bring, at the end of it, if you didn't bring a championship with the stuff he said in the beginning, is null and void, basically, right? So, I mean, I understand it, but I remember.
You so easy, Freezy.
I know.
You so easy. You so
I
easy.
know.
I know.
But my thing is,
you get your vote for some mac and cheese. You're so easy.
I've been doing this since '68, bro. Like I know. Like I know, you know what I'm saying? I know it. You know, but my thing is
since the Nixon era.
Right. But I remember those. I remember the nights
Watergate Freezy.
But I remember the nights when they was trying to run Jamal Crawford, Zach Randolph pick and roll out the corner in order to keep the floor space so Crawford could have a dribble and we could start shooting the three. But I remember those nights and that shit didn't work because Jamal Crawford was a shooter. Yes. Like how you gonna give the dude with the scorer's mentality the reins so that he can be your point guard? I remember those days, bro. It's like, and no disrespect to Crawford because he was perfect at what he was perfect at,
which was what?
Right? Scoring.
Okay.
Right, scoring, handles, excellent handles, right? But the thing is when I remember all that. I remember when you know what I'm saying, they had two dudes at the same size playing the same position, and then one guy was physical but wouldn't play center, and the other guy wouldn't play defense, and we moved him to center. Right? Like I remember David Lee was not a defensive center. Was he a great guy? David Lee is a great guy. Was David Lee a great Knick? David Lee is a great Knick, right? Oh, like Zach Randolph at his size was more physically imposing, but was he big enough to play center? No. So most nights you had to roll them two out there together because of both of them are 20 and 10 guys, right? Both of them are 20 and 10 guys, right? But I remember those days. That's why when Amari said, I'm coming to New York and I'm bringing championships. When he said that, I was like coming off of that. Remember every night you had Rolando Blackman on the bench?
Okay, we're about to get into like a real argument now. Okay, we're about to
over David Lee.
Over
David Lee.
No. Here's how you just glossed over something or someone.
No, I introduced it. I didn't gloss over. I'm introduced it.
Oh, you introduced it. Okay.
Yeah.
When the Knicks, this is before they get Amari. And you're saying you remember. Okay. When they opt not to re-sign Zach Randolph, or when they opt to trade him, because they traded him and Crawford and everything else, because they were trying to get under for LeBron and blah, 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 whatever. Right. Zach Randolph, Freezy, goes on to have a Hall of Fame career in Memphis.
I know this.
Okay? Zach Randolph at one point in the West was top 1, 2, 3 forward. He sent home OKC and Kevin Durant.
I know this.
Kevin Durant could not stop that man. Their entire front court could not stop that man.
Yeah.
That's the kind of talent that the Knicks let just walk out the door. Remember we talked about Johnny Newman last week? That's the kind of talent that they just let walk out the door for an unfocused dream. And then when the dream materializes into a nightmare, you then have to turn and give all of what you have. If this was a spades game, Freezy, right? They threw out the joker. Low joker, deuce diamonds, and deuce of spades in the first 4 hands.
Right.
When you could have just sat back. How old was Zach Randolph when the Knicks had him? 25? 26?
He spent a few years in Portland. And then he spent a few years with us. So I'll say about 27, maybe?
No, he only spent like a year and a half with us, I think. Zach Randolph was that day's... Oh, God. He was that day's McAdoo. Just without all of the stats and accomplishments already. You already had a young dude. You wouldn't have needed to go out and get Amari if you had long vision mentality. Because he was already in your building. He's already in your house. He goes on to have a Hall of Fame career after you.
After, yeah.
Well, you wasting time on Balkman and after you
And
draft
Gallinari.
Ronaldo Balkman, you have the unmitigated gall to bring him back.
Again, everything AD is saying, I 100% agree. Like I'm not disagreeing with AD.
You are Amari fan. You are Amari Stan.
No. Listen to me. I think we might be missing each other. Like what I'm saying is all the stuff that you're saying is true. Even the stuff that I pointed out that you were 100% correct on about 20 minutes ago. What I'm saying is the Amari moment when he chose us. Like everything that happened before, during, and after. You're absolutely right. I'd be an idiot to dispute facts. I'm not the one that's going to dispute facts, right? What I'm saying is the fact that he chose us, like, was a special place in my Knicks heart, right? That's all I'm saying. Now everything else happened. You 100%. The breaking his hand, the thing about Melo, like all of this. You're right. We can't dispute that. There's evidence that all of this stuff are facts. I ain't disputing that because I'd be an idiot. I'm not Don Quixote. I ain't ready to fight windmills. I ain't stupid, right? But what I'm saying is after losing so many games, a random winner just shows up on your radar. Because remember, at the same time Amari is saying this, Chris Paul and Chris Bosh are on national TV like, come on, LeBron, you know what the right thing to do is, right? Like they are doing that, right? Right? Remember, like, legit, when Amari is saying this stuff, LeBron is still a free agent. And everybody's like, nah, man, we don't want Amari, man. We want LeBron. LeBron ain't coming to New York, bro. So when a guy's like, yo, I don't care who coming, I'm coming to New York and I'm bringing championships. That, to me, made me feel special as a Knicks fan. Now, he missed a lot of games. Jeremy Lin, Carmelo, all that stuff. Fire your coach. What's going on? He stayed too long and all of that stuff. And all that stuff happened is true. But the fact that man picked my franchise out of all the franchises that was trying to get stars and were like, yo, I'm coming to y'all. That was special to me. Now, everything else, AD is spot on. I'm just saying that meant something to me for him to pick me out the crowd, if that makes sense.
And here's the beauty about winning a championship, okay? We don't have to sit around and wait on the pretty woman to choose us. We have a pick of the litter. If anybody we want.
Right.
You understand? See, that was the mindset. And I'm not saying you're wrong. You're not saying I'm wrong. We're not missing each other. We just colliding with each other because we Knicks fans and we just know the history. Right? Right? But the same thing I'm talking about as far as holding on to a player that you don't realize is good is the same thing I was talking about with holding on to Bernard to pair him with Ewing. It's the short-sightedness of not knowing what you have. You understand? Or not seizing on a moment of something that you see a weakness. You know, I'm listening to Don Nelson. I'm listening to Isaiah talk about Jermaine O'Neal, right? And he says when he saw Jermaine O'Neal at some function or whatever, he was like, look, you've been improving. Keep up the good work. Something like that. He goes back to Walsh and he was like, look, we got to get this dude. Okay? We got to get this dude. I
know Jermaine O'Neal, by the way, too. I heard that story. I heard
what I'm saying? Yeah. And in no time, one of the great deals in NBA history, they get Jermaine O'Neal for a bag of rocks and some Jolly Ranchers. Jermaine O'Neal then goes on to be Jermaine O'Neal.
Right.
My point is, Freezy, during those times, what? We didn't see Jermaine. We could have drafted Jermaine O'Neal. What are you looking at? You're looking at Marseille Lampe. You're looking at Frederick fucking Weiss.
The Knicks had 3 first-round picks in a Jermaine O'Neal draft. And they could have used 2 to trade up to get Steve Nash.
You're looking at Walter McCarty.
Walter McCarty, Dante Jones, and our guy John Wallace is what we left the draft with. You could have traded 3 first-round picks to trade up to get Kobe.
It's why I like youthful energy, Freezy.
You know, we got one of those first-round picks from Pat Riley signing with Miami, right?
Yeah.
We didn't. Hey, so what y'all don't know is the Knicks wouldn't let Pat Riley out of that contract. It's like, nah, you got another year left.
No, you got another year.
You ain't gonna resign on us. You gonna resign on us. Oh, you gonna send me a resignation by fax? We got something for your ass. How about we not gonna let this thing happen?
I think they got that pick because of tampering.
Huh?
The Knicks were able to prove tampering.
I'm trying to get there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, get there.
AD just fast forward through the commercial.
I don't have time for commercials. I promise you, I don't got time.
Right. Nah, no doubt. But long story short, the Knicks had 3 picks. They could have traded up 1 spot to get Jermaine O'Neal because remember J.O. went at 18 and we picked at 19, right? So we could have traded up multiple times in that draft, but we sat back. Now, mind you, it wasn't just that who went before us. There were people that went after us that we didn't pick, and we still were. What's the 7'3" center from Cleveland? Remember him? The one that was there with LeBron? Big Z. Ilgauskas.
Yeah, Ilgauskas.
So we could have drafted Ilgauskas. We could have drafted Ben Wallace. We could have drafted. I mean, there were a bunch of people.
Now I don't fault them for not drafting a Ben because you really have to have somebody on your staff that's totally in your scouting game, that's totally familiar with his potential.
See, AD,
because he was that raw.
But here's why I'm gonna disagree with you. But I'm gonna disagree because I'm gonna add some things that I learned later, not because I don't feel like I'm a genius. I learned some stuff after the fact. What I didn't know at the time was when Ben Wallace was at Virginia Union. Do you know who his personal mentor was?
Oakley, I think.
Charles Oakley.
Yeah.
Right, Charles Oakley. So you know the guy. First of all, Ben Wallace in '96 ran like a deer. He was a super athletic.
He should have been a decathlete.
Yeah, right. He was a super athletic, ectomorph body type that could do. He was a big person that can do the little people stuff. Everybody is basically what I'm getting at, right? And so he didn't have a shot because most teams were working him out like as a small forward because of his height, right? His height, they like, okay, he's such and such height, he's a small forward, right? What they didn't take into account, and AD's point about short-sightedness is just because you're a certain height or whatever doesn't mean you can play a certain position. It's the same thing about Magic Johnson. It's the same thing about Bill Russell, right? Like you can't judge a guy's height to assume position. Dirk Nowitzki is another. You can't look at Dirk 7'1" and say, okay, he's a center, right?
Exactly.
Right. My thing is you got 3 shots at this thing. You got 3 shots, bro. You could have took your first 2 picks, and then on that third first round pick, you could have been like, hey, we're gonna take Ben Wallace and bring him in and have him bring him up in our culture and see what we have. But we didn't, bro. We drafted 3 dudes that played the same position.
Mm-hmm.
We legit drafted like 3, 6, 8.5, 6'9" dudes that were scorer athletic guys.
You
And
could
then
have
didn't even
you could have
play
sat
them.
you could have sat him behind Ewing and Oakley, as you said. Oakley was his mentor. You got Anthony Bonner.
Bro, but this is what I'm saying. And you could have drafted Ilgauskas and sat him too. He was raw. He wasn't cooked when he got here.
No.
Right? You could have traded up in the draft. Now, this is my thing, right? If you needed a small forward, you could have traded up in the draft. But you know what they were looking for? In 96, our mindset was this. We need a dynamic point guard, right? We needed because every team back then seemed like supposedly had like a Kevin Johnson, a Tim Hardaway, what's the kid in Cleveland? Remember the kid in Cleveland?
Barron.
Brandon.
Terrell
Brandon.
Yes.
Toronto had Damon Stoudemire.
Great point guard.
Yeah. I mean,
great point guard.
Right. And so the Knicks were like, we just need to upgrade Charlie Ward and whoever. And you're like, upgrade? Why you have a blind spot? Why not address your blind spot as opposed to saying upgrade this, what's the name, such and such? But the Knicks lost Charles Smith in free agency, and they addressed it by drafting 3 dudes that couldn't hold John's. No disrespect to them. I won't say it. I won't say it that way. But they were not as accomplished as Charles Smith. I just put it that way.
Well, if you remember that at the time, they traded Charles Smith for J.R. Reed, Brad Lohaus, and Willie Anderson, because they had visions on the 96 free agency.
Right.
So they were dumping salary.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's right.
They were dumping salary.
That's the Jordan Shaq summer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And the Gary Payton and Mourning
the Grant Hill summer.
And everybody. Every area, Houston, everybody, Childs, everybody. That's probably the greatest free agency year that I've ever seen. Right? And they get washed by Chicago in the first round. I think they won a game, but Chicago washed them 3-1 or something. Or 4-1.
Because Chicago was on a mission. Remember, Chicago got embarrassed by Orlando in 95?
Yeah.
In 96?
Yeah.
And they took it personally because I think the Knicks swept them in the regular season. I think the Knicks swept them in the 96 regular. 96.
No, 97. 97 we sweep them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because 90 or 9 was it 98? One of them, because remember, they go 70 when they win the 72, then they were going back to back, and we beat them on the last day.
Yeah.
We stopped them from going back to back 70. I remember that clearly.
Yeah.
Clearly. That was like, that's the year where we get into the fight and with Miami and blah, 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 and we don't make it to Chicago. But, you know, Freezy, that's why this management today is so special of not being short-sighted.
Right.
You know, when they first got here, they made a couple of bad moves, gave out a couple of, Christmas checks in August.
Evan Fournier, yeah.
Did a couple of things that didn't make any sense.
That
didn't make any sense, but it didn't cripple us.
Right.
You understand? They didn't sign, off of the playoff run. They didn't give everybody. They gave everybody Christmas bonuses. They didn't give everybody, new contracts, new 3, 4, 5-year deals. They didn't do an Isaiah.
Right.
They could have.
Right.
But what we didn't know at the time was they had a plan. They were sound in their maneuvers. They flirted with Cat for 3 years. Flirted with Embiid. Flirted with Donovan Mitchell. More than flirted with Donovan Mitchell. Okay? And not getting those moves or getting 1 out of the 3 didn't derail them from us being here today. Smiling like we smile.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey man, I gotta run because
oh wow, we've been here that long. I didn't even realize we've been here that long. Damn.
Yo, lunch is here, everybody. So we're gonna
salute to the chat, man. But once again, man, y'all know what it is. We don't know where this journey started, but we know where it ended. It ended with you, fans of the 2026 NBA champions. Look for me and Uncle Freezy in the whirlwind, Garvey.
Yeah. Look out your window. Knicks fans is on your block. Y'all know the Knicks run the city. Pull them shades back. Look out your window. Look down there on the block. That's Knicks fans right there. It's about that time. It's about that time of the week where you get ready for your work week with the man that is so smooth he does not require a chaser. Your main man, the real Anthony D. And your main man, Jersey's finest, the hood representative, Uncle Freezy.